Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Conaway and I have agreed to release the Facebook ads with the geographic targeting data. Do either of the other two companies, Twitter or Google, have any objection to our releasing the ads that have been identified as coming out of Russia as well?
No, and I'm sorry, no, we don't have any objection and think that's part of the education we'd like to see for our users. That's one of the reasons we're streaming today's hearing on Twitter, and so there are no objections from us.
Mr. Walker?
No objections. We're happy to work with the committee on that.
With Jim and Yale, we've had an agreement on the stuff the broader 3,000 is a different conversation.
Correct. I just want to make sure that companies, well, we've agreed to release all of the Facebook ads, although they have to be scrubbed first for personal information. I just want to make sure that the other two companies would also be copacetic with our releasing their ads.
Yep. With the same condition of there are some private citizens whose images may show up at the bottom of our tweets. We just ask, like you did with the boards today, to blur those faces out.
And I would ask also that the exhibits we've used today and referred to also be made part of our record. A couple other quick follow-ups. One, my colleague Mr. Castro asked if you would work on a joint report together. I'd like to underscore my support for that concept as well. You are uniquely positioned better than us to be able to identify the interaction between your platforms, how advertising on one platform led to likes that may have been used to target people on Twitter. We are not in a position really to do that. Would you be willing to combine forces and share with us a report on the sum total of the Russian social media interaction between your platforms during the campaign?
We're sharing threat information all the time, and we can definitely work together on this issue to get better together.
Would you commit, though, to providing us with a report that sets out the length and breadth of the Russian use of your platforms?
One of the things we're working on, Congressman, is a formalized threat and information sharing body that will address cybersecurity threats generally, and its goal is to actually publish, among other things, information. So we're certainly, once we get that body set up, we will put that on the agenda, something to discuss.
And we, as was mentioned, we're already sharing with the other companies pardon me, information about Google Gmail accounts that might have been used to set up accounts on other services, and we're happy to join in a joint effort around that.
Well, I appreciate that. I don't hear it as a firm yes. Unless you want to somehow set us at loose within your databases, we're not in a position to do what I'm asking you to do, but you are. So I ask you to take that back and provide us an answer. I want to get back to the question I posed at the outset, which is broader than Russia, and that is, would you agree that the effect of your algorithms is such that it has the unintended consequence of deepening divisions within society because of the way it works, because of the type of things that go viral, because of the way you prioritize keeping eyes on the platform rather than showing people true information? The truth is not what rises to the top of the feed. It's not the criteria that's used. So what is the social responsibility here as one question? And the related question is, do you feel an obligation to those who were influenced by this Russian media that you can identify to give them notice that they were the subject of Russian-sponsored covert advertising and propaganda, because they may also be future targets of it as they've been identified by their clicking on pages or following pages, in the same way that credit agencies have an obligation to notify their customers when their identity has been compromised. Do you feel an obligation to notify your users that they have been the subject of Russian propaganda?
Given the latest South hour, each of the witnesses to provide us a written response to that answer. I mean, you took the 5 minutes and asked the question right at the end. So in respect for other folks, I'll ask them to take that for the record. recognize myself for 5 minutes, although I won't take anywhere near that. Mr. Walker, at the end of your conversation, you talked about what you plan to do for 2018, creating a database or whatever with respect to allowing searches and that. I guess, who put up the ad, who paid for it, all those kind of things. Will that be real time? Will that be on a certain each week? You'll have what's available, or after the election's over? When will that tool be available?
We're working out the details now, but the goal would be not waiting until after an election is over, but to provide periodic reports. It's hard to compile this information in complete real time, literally real time,
right,
but periodically and with enough notice that it would be useful in the electoral process.
Okay, thank you. And now yield back. Ms. Sewell, 5 minutes.
I yield the ranking member 2 minutes of my time.
I thank the gentlewoman. Just want to give you an opportunity to respond to the questions I asked.
So just quickly, I think there's a distinction between, say, Google search, whose goal is to provide accurate, relevant, comprehensive information, and some of the social network concerns that we've largely been focused on here today. We think the heart and soul of our products is to try and provide useful and, to the extent we possibly can, accurate information to users. We do notify, to your second question, we do have a difficulty in that many of our users are not logged in, so it's hard for us to to know exactly who has seen what. But what we do have information about a given user's Gmail account being hacked by a state actor, for example, we do and have for years provided notice to those users about that attempted hack.
Mr. Stretch?
In terms of the question of division and discourse in discourse in this country, I think that the data is pretty mixed about where that's coming from or what the cause is. What we find on Facebook is that it enables a network of loose ties that exposes people to a relatively broad diversity of information. We believe our obligation is to surface information that is authentic, as we've discussed, and that does present a range of views. One of the things we're working—
Mr. Stretch, if I could, because my time is very limited.
Sorry.
Would you acknowledge that the way your algorithm functions has the effect of deepening these social divisions? That's not the intent, but that is the effect?
We recognize the concern. The data on this is actually quite mixed. We do recognize the concern. Our goal certainly is not to deepen division. Our goal is to bring people together. One of the things we're working on—
And do you feel an obligation to notify users that have been exposed to this and they may be further victim of it because their IP addresses have been captured?
We've tried to provide notification broadly about the issue through our public blogs, and we have a hard questions blog on our website that addresses a lot of this, and we're committed to working with the committee to publicize all of the content we've seen. The question of individual notice is much, much more challenging, and we'd be happy to talk to you further